Play more is the worst advice you could tell somebody. It's just not good enough. It doesn't give enough context, and it's downright not helpful at all. So if somebody's asking, how can I improve my stamina for DDR? And you just respond, play more. Like, oh, okay, wow, why didn't I think of that? Let's think of this from the perspective of somebody who's asking this question. How can I improve my stamina for DDR? Is usually not asked by somebody who is a beginner, usually someone who's been playing for a while and is getting stuck, maybe hit a plateau, and has probably tried almost everything they could think of, and they're not sure what to do, and they're asking expert players for advice. A beginner player is not going to know anything about the game yet. They're just playing to play. Maybe they don't have the intuition for improvement yet. They don't know that they want to get better at the game yet. So I did make a video about this topic a few years ago, and I figure it was something worth revisiting now that production is a little less crunchy. And I think this time we can try to keep it a little more simple. So what advice can I give to someone who wants to improve their stamina in DDR? I think there are three main things to consider. I think the first thing I would address is the play more advice, how frequently you play. The second would be the quality of your session. And I think the third thing, which in my opinion is the most important thing, is optimizing your technique. Play more. But what exactly does that mean? Let's say play more means play often. How much should you be playing to really see an improvement in your stamina? I think about this kind of like going to the gym. To really see tangible improvements, I think you should at least play 2 to 3 times a week. Obviously, to see immediate results, you're going to want to play every day. I think 2 to 3 times a week is a balanced enough schedule because yes, you could play every day if your schedule allows it. Playing as frequently as possible every day or close to it, you're going to see the most improvement. But I think 2 to 3 times a week is good enough where you can see improvement and give yourself enough time to rest in between sessions so that you're not burning yourself out. And of course, if you play too infrequently, if you play too little, too infrequently, then you're really not going to see an improvement in your stamina. Like once a week, you could get by, but if you only play like once every 2 weeks or once a month, you're really not going to see that big of an improvement. Also, how long should you be playing? I would say at least an hour. And I'm not talking about like playing a set and then sitting around for another hour to wait for your turn. I mean, an hour of active playing. So if you're at the arcade and one set is like 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to want to play at least 4 of those. Let's say, for example, you have the machine to yourself and you could play for at least a solid hour or maybe up to 2 hours. That's usually good enough. And the second part is the quality of your session. Like say you're playing maybe almost every day, but you're still not seeing an improvement, but you're only playing stuff you're comfortable with. Like say you can clear 14s and all you're doing is playing 9s and 10s all day. It doesn't mean you're going to be clearing 16s anytime soon. For a good quality session, you got to consider what you're playing and how you're feeling after the session. You got to make sure that you are feeling exhausted, tired, sweaty, everything is sore, everything hurts, because that's a sign that it's working. That's a sign telling you that the next time you go play, you're going to be ready for more difficult songs. So what should you be playing during your sessions? This is where you have to kind of know where you are in your journey. What difficulty are you comfortable with right now? Let's say you can clear 14s pretty comfortably without breaking much of a sweat, and your goal is to clear max 300, but you're not exactly quite there yet. You can either explore songs on your own within the 14 to 15 range, or you could do a little bit of homework to find out what songs you should be trying out, what you should be practicing as kind of like a stepping stone towards your goal. Maybe you don't know the entire DDR song list. There are a lot of songs to pick from, so it's kind of overwhelming. You don't really know where to start looking. And even though this list is based on scoring, it kind of closely correlates with passing ability, save for, a few exceptions. This difficulty list posted on 3 Ice Cream is a pretty decent guide based on player data. So we're looking at the 14s list right now. 14.00 would be the easiest 14s, and then 14.95 would be the most difficult 14s. So let's just say, for example, that you're clearing 14s, but you don't exactly know where in the 14s range you are. So maybe you have a favorite song that you like to play and it's a 14. You just find out where in this list that song is and start going up the list and start picking out some songs to play during your session and just see how you do. And if you can clear that song without too much trouble, you just keep moving up. Maybe you can try some easier 15s. You can go from the bottom of the list and work your way up towards your goal of clearing max 300 or whatever your goal might be. Doesn't matter what difficulty it is, you can use this example and kind of translate that difficulty number to wherever you are right now. So kind of as a general rule, how to structure your sessions, you want to try to play songs that are either +1 or +2 your difficulty that you're comfortable with, but also -1 or -2. I say that because it's also important to work on your timing and your technique, which brings me to the third point, optimizing your technique. This is kind of a broad topic, but you want to move down a couple of difficulties, 1 or 2 difficulties, to work on your timing and technique. It's kind of hard to work on your timing and technique when you're trying to play a song that's a little outside of your comfort zone and the only thing you can think of is you're tired, you're gasping for air, you can barely move anymore. This is where you want to rein it back and play stuff that is a little below 1 or 2 difficulties maybe from what you're comfortable playing, so that you already have the stamina and the focus to concentrate on your timing and technique. So there are a couple of aspects to this. The timing is more of a mental thing that you got to practice. We'll get to that part later. The physical aspect of optimizing your technique. The general idea is to only move as much as you need to activate the arrows. So the key thing here, it does not mean move as little as possible. It does not mean minimizing your movement. So I'll show you here. So by now you should know where the sensors on the DDR pad actually are. There's a sensor on all 4 sides, but the main sensors you want to hit are located on the inside here, inside of this circle. So it's as easy as just hitting the edge of the arrow. Not quite, not exactly. Because if you're playing on a machine that's not as well maintained as some other machines, not as sensitive as some other machines, you might have to use a little more force or step a little more outwards to make the hit register. This is why I say you want to use only as much force as you need to activate the arrows, because sometimes you'll try to minimize the movement too much, not use enough force, and you'll wonder why the arrow's not going off. Because, in some situations, you need to hit a little harder than you think you do, or step a little more outward than you have to. But the general idea for optimizing your technique is to keep your steps within this circle. Do not step too far outward. Do not waste too much energy lifting your feet too high. Only move as much as you really need to. And this is kind of like an easier said than done sort of thing, because the idea is pretty simple, but to put it into practice is very difficult. It'll be easier to practice this on songs that are much easier than you're used to playing. But oftentimes you'll find that when you try to use the same techniques for songs that are a little more difficult than what you're used to, your form and technique might break and you'll start falling into bad habits again, stepping outward or stepping harder than you actually need to, or rushing patterns when you really have to kind of slow down a bit. So now you have to practice this while you're focusing on practicing your timing. There is some mental stamina involved in this game too, based on my own experience. If I could be playing with optimal technique, but if I start to see my timing slip, I find that my stamina will also take a hit because I'm trying to readjust my timing to get back to where I should be. So, the goal of DDR is to hit as many marvelouses as possible. It's a very, very small window, very difficult to get the timing and consistency. It takes a lot of practice. Get used to practicing your timing as much as you can. Because in the long run, when you're trying to improve your stamina, you will find that if you can dial in your timing, you will save a lot of energy. So the combination of tightening up your technique and your timing will eventually allow you to save a lot of energy, and that in combination with playing songs that are a little above your comfort zone, do that for at least an hour, 2 to 3 times a week at least, you're going to see a lot of improvements in your stamina. Once you can get kind of a flow for how your sessions will play out, come up with some small goals to try to achieve every session, make this repeatable 2 to 3 times a week for at least an hour. I think in about a month, you'll really start to see how much you've improved, how much your stamina has improved. Maybe you'll see how much your timing has improved too. As long as you consider those 3 core things that I mentioned, you'll start seeing some tangible improvements in your stamina. I think I saw a comment from my previous video asking about diet and exercise outside of DDR. In my opinion, in my experience, I think diet and outside exercise plays a very, very minuscule role in improving your stamina in this game. Like, obviously a good diet will be beneficial for your overall health, but I don't think it directly correlates with your stamina in DDR. Same thing with outside exercise. Like, you could be a marathon runner and still not have the stamina to play max 300 and pass it. You could be running all the time, but if they don't play DDR, they're not going to know how to move to finish the song. This game uses completely different muscles. It makes you move in a way that no other exercise really makes you move. Hopefully these tips were helpful. Let me know if you've implemented this into your routine and if this has improved your stamina in the next month or so. And maybe leave a comment on what your current DDR goal is, and I'll see you in the next video.